Welcome to Midnight Story. Tonight's story is the man who knew my thoughts before I spoke. I used to believe that thoughts were the last private place left to us. Words could be overheard. My belief ended the night I met him. It started on a Tuesday that felt like every other Tuesday in my life. The kind of day that leaves no mark. No memory worth keeping. I woke up late, burned my toast, forgot my charger, and spent the entire commute wondering how my life had quietly shrunk into something so small. I remember thinking very clearly, I wish someone understood me without me having to explain myself. I hadn't said it out loud. I hadn't typed it. I hadn't even admitted it to myself before that moment. And that's when the man across from me looked up and said, "You don't have to explain yourself to me." I froze. The subway car rattled forward, people swaying, phones glowing, advertisements screaming silently from the walls. I stared at him, convinced I'd misheard. "What?" I asked. He smiled politely. Not warmly. Not coldly. Just, accurately. I said. He repeated, "You don't have to explain yourself to me." My heart began to beat faster, the way it does when your body senses danger before your mind can catch up. "I didn't say anything," I replied. "I know," he said. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. I laughed nervously. "Okay. Then, why would you say that?" He studied me for a moment, like someone rereading a familiar page. "Because you were thinking it," he said. "And you looked disappointed that no one ever does." I told myself it was coincidence. People say things. People guess. Sometimes they get lucky. But the silence between us stretched too long. He wasn't waiting for a reaction. He wasn't testing me. He was certain. The train screeched to a stop. Doors opened. People rushed out. I stood quickly, needing air, distance, logic. As I stepped onto the platform, I heard him behind me. "You're getting off early," he said. "You do that when something feels wrong." I turned. "You follow strangers often," I snapped. "No," he said calmly. "Only the ones who already feel like they know me." "I don't know you." He nodded. "That's the part that scares you." I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed. That's the first thing you learn about fear. It doesn't always make you run. Sometimes it makes you listen. We sat on a bench above ground, the city humming around us. He told me his name was Elias. I didn't tell him mine. "You don't trust names," he said. "They make things real." I stared at him. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Answering questions I haven't asked." He leaned back, watching traffic move like blood through the streets. "I don't hear thoughts," he said. "Not like voices. It's more like pressure. Patterns. Intentions before they harden into words." "That's not possible." He smiled slightly. "That's what you tell yourself when something doesn't fit." I wanted to leave. I truly did. But then he said something that broke me open. "You're tired of being the strong one," he said softly. "You resent the people who rely on you. And then you hate yourself for resenting them." My chest burned. I hadn't told anyone that. Ever. My voice shook. "How do you know that?" He looked at me, then really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something like sadness in his eyes. "Because I know what people try not to think," he said. "And yours are loud." After that day, Elias began appearing everywhere. Not in a dramatic way. Not stalking. Not chasing. Just present. At the coffee shop I went to when I needed to feel anonymous. On the bus when I replayed arguments in my head. Outside my building the night I decided not to call my sister back. Each time, he knew. He knew when I was lying to myself. He knew when I wanted comfort but rejected it. He knew when I thought about disappearing, not dying, just not being reachable. "You imagine leaving without saying goodbye," he said once, walking beside me. "But you also imagine everyone finally understanding why." I stopped walking. "That's not normal," I whispered. "No," he agreed. "It's human." I started testing him. I thought of random words. Memories. Faces. He didn't get everything. But he got enough. Enough to make me feel exposed. Enough to make me feel seen. And that was the most dangerous part. Because when someone sees you, really sees you, you begin to depend on it. "You don't tell anyone about me," he said one evening as we sat on my apartment floor. "Good," he said. "People don't like mirrors they didn't ask for." I asked him where he came from. He didn't answer. I asked him how long he'd been like this. He looked away. I asked him if there were others. That time, he hesitated. You don't want to know, he said. That's when the dreams started. Dreams where I'd think something and the world would react before I spoke. Doors opening, people turning, answers arriving unasked. In the dreams, Elias stood behind me, silent. Watching. You're learning, he said after one particularly vivid night. Your mind is changing. Because of you. I asked. Because you stopped hiding from yourself, he replied. That's when I realized the truth. He wasn't reading my thoughts. He was removing the space between thought and reality. And once you lose that space, you lose choice. I tried to stop seeing him. Blocked places. Changed routines. Ignored instincts. But he was already inside the patterns of my thinking. You can't avoid me without avoiding yourself, he said when I finally confronted him. And you're not ready for that. What do you want from me? I demanded. He looked tired. Older than before. I want you to decide, he said. Before the thoughts decide for you. Decide what? He took a long breath. Whether you want to remain unknowable, or become undeniable. That night, I understood why he frightened me. Because the most terrifying thing isn't someone who knows your thoughts. It's the possibility that you could learn to know them too. And once you do, you can never pretend again. Some nights, even now, I feel it. That pressure. That certainty. Thoughts forming faster than words. And sometimes, just sometimes, I wonder if Elias ever left. And after that night, sleep became different, not worse, just thinner. I would lie in the dark, eyes closed, city noise fading into a distant hum, and my thoughts would feel louder than they ever had before. Not rushed, not chaotic, clear, too clear. You see, when you realize someone has been inside your unspoken mind, you start monitoring every thought like it's being watched. Even when they're gone, especially when they're gone, I'd think, he's not here anymore. And immediately another thought would follow, quieter but sharper. You don't know that. Some nights, I'd whisper to myself just to feel the sound of my own voice. Just to remind my brain that words still had meaning. Other nights, I didn't need to. Because the thoughts came fully formed, calm, almost rehearsed. Breathe. Slow down. You're safe right now. They felt comforting. And that scared me more than anything Elias had ever said. Weeks passed. Maybe months. Time became unreliable when my mind stopped arguing with itself. Decisions happened before doubt arrived. Conversations felt shorter, simpler. People told me I seemed calmer. They said I looked like I was finally getting rest. They were wrong. Rest isn't silence. Rest is trust. And I didn't trust my own thoughts anymore. One night well past midnight, the kind of hour where the world feels suspended, I sat up in bed and realized something chilling. I hadn't thought about Elias in days. Not avoided him. Not missed him. Just hadn't needed to. And that's when I heard it. Not a voice. Not a sound. A recognition. Like realizing you've been holding your breath without noticing. You don't need me anymore, the thought said. I didn't ask who it belonged to. I already knew. You're not real, I whispered into the dark. The reply came instantly, gentle, patient. Neither are most of the things that shape you. I wrapped my arms around myself, heart steady, breathing slow. That was the worst part. I wasn't panicking. I was calm. You said thoughts were private, I said. They are, the presence answered. Until you listen closely enough to them. That night, I understood the truth Elias never said out loud. He wasn't special. He was early. Some people hear the world first. Some people hear others first. And some learn to hear themselves before the noise arrives. Once you do, the mind stops asking permission. It starts predicting, choosing, protecting. I don't see Elias anymore. But sometimes, when I'm about to speak, I already know how the words will land. Sometimes, when I'm about to sleep, I feel that gentle certainty settle in, like a blanket over my thoughts. And if you're listening to this right now, late at night, lights low, eyes heavy, you might feel it too. That quiet moment before sleep, when thoughts slow down and everything feels strangely clear. If you're enjoying this midnight story, let your body relax. Take a slow breath in. And let it out. And before you drift deeper, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And press the bell icon. So these quiet, unsettling stories can find you again. Right when the world goes silent. Because some stories aren't meant to be watched. They're meant to be heard. In the dark. And as your thoughts grow softer. Just remember, not every thought is yours. And not every silence is empty. Good night, crescent moon.